Hey, Kevin here, top 1 financial advisor, two-time author, one-time bestseller, and we are here to talk about the stock market. Today, we learned that Tesla and Elon Musk bought $1.5 billion with a B in Bitcoin. And this is a very, very big deal. Bitcoin, because of this news, hit an all-time high. It starts to signal some stuff about Bitcoin. A lot of stuff we actually talked about back in November, December-ish. And I want to tell you what you need to know. So number one, go hit the share button right now because Elon Musk, Dogecoin, and Bitcoin are lightning rods. Everybody's been talking about it as of late. Again, Bitcoin hitting all-time high. Dogecoin is soaring right now. I've got some thoughts about that. And anytime Elon Musk does anything, people talk about it. So make sure you're educating yourself and educating others by hitting the share button. Now, let's start with the beginning of this story. Elon Musk, which is Tesla, I mean, they're not the same thing legally and technically, but we found out through SEC documents, Securities and Exchange Commission, that they bought, or they own rather, $1.5 billion of Bitcoin. This is another checkmark signal for Bitcoin and another reason why it is continuously going up, or not continuously, it went up today, more than 7%, at least when I looked at it. Remember, Bitcoin had hit a record earlier this year, but then fell off. I think it hit right around 40,000 or so, which at the time was a record, and then dropped down to about 30 to 35, and it didn't look all that great, but now it's back up. Primarily, a bit of this, at least today, is because of Tesla's ownership of $1.5 billion in Bitcoin. So what does this mean? If you go back to my video from November, I think it's November or December, I talked about how I changed my position and actually invested, it was just $100 at the time, $100 in Bitcoin. And the reason was, my big thing about investing is I like to put my money where I know the big money is going. So when we talked about PayPal, we talked about Cash App, I think it was a few other companies, I don't know if it was JP Morgan or some others, say, look, we are now buying Bitcoin, we are now supporting it on our platforms, and that's when you started to get that movement. I said that back when Bitcoin was at like 20,000, and you got some, Bitcoin heads that have been around for forever. Congrats to y'all. But the problem is, and the problem with all of this stuff that I start to raise red flags on, is when things start to raise irrationally, where it just goes up for no real reason, because just like GameStop, just like AMC, that money primarily vanishes, right? So you want to have some sort of justification, some reason, I'm trying to figure out how to conjugate this verb or whatever, but it should deserve to go up, right? That's what I'm looking for. It should deserve to go up. And Bitcoin right now does deserve to go up. It makes sense. If Tesla bought 1.5 billion, that means that a legitimate American company does care enough about this asset. It means that PayPal and Square and other companies believe enough in this asset or in this investment, depending on how you want to view that, says, look, we care enough about it. We think it's legit now. We're going to add it to our platforms, allow people to buy and pay with it, or buy and pay, the same thing, to buy and sell it, to send it to other people. And it's a more legitimate thing. We've got Coinbase. They're supposed to do their IPO later this year. These are more signals that it does make sense. It does deserve to go up. Back in 2017, I can't really say that. We saw what happened. It hit 20,000 or so. Then 2018, January, February, March, by the summer, it was gone. It was done. So you always want to take those things into consideration. I'm a big fan of investments that deserve to go up. GameStop didn't really deserve to go up because, again, we all know they were on the verge of bankruptcy. Same thing with Hertz. Same thing with AMC. Right around this time last year, really March of last year, we were talking about maybe Amazon will step in and save AMC. And that was before the pandemic got really, really bad. So again, I'm a big fan of things that deserve to go up. I'm also a big fan of following the money. If I know that whether it's Salesforce putting money into a company, whether it is Warren Buffett putting money into a company, Microsoft putting money into a company like C3 AI or Snowflake. Remember, go back then, I said, when I start to see these big names and these big companies putting money into anything, whether it's a stock or Bitcoin or something like that, that's when I start to look. So Elon Musk has been tweeting a lot about both Bitcoin. We know that Tesla put up 1.5 billion into Bitcoin. Like, this is just another check mark. I was as of last year, late last year, I'm like, okay, Bitcoin makes sense. You can put up to, I would say, maybe 1 to 3% of your overall portfolio in it, but it's still not for everyone. It is still very volatile. Again, from 40,000 to 30,000, that's a big dip for some people, and not everybody is okay with that, and not everybody can stomach that. It's also a 24-hour market, which means that right now, at the time of this recording, and about the time you're watching this, the stock market's done. The stock market ain't moving nowhere. I can go to sleep, wake up tomorrow, and do whatever it does, right? Bitcoin's moving the whole time, and there ain't much you can do about it. So that's something that you want to at least consider or be knowledgeable about. But the other part of this is Elon Musk is pumping, I want to use that term, Dogecoin. We did a video on Dogecoin several weeks ago. To break it all down, it is a meme coin. It was created as a joke from a meme. They basically put a meme of a dog slapped on a coin, and it was a joke to say, look, anybody, because all these coins were popular, and this is back again 2017-ish, when all these coins were taken off. Say, look, we're just gonna slap a dog on here. It's gonna be funny. People are gonna buy it. I wonder if people would buy it, and they actually did. And he has been pumping Doge on his Twitter account for the last few days. So will Tesla buy Dogecoin? I don't know. That'll be very interesting, but people have been making money over the last few days and weeks. But here's the problem. Dogecoin isn't nearly as useful as Bitcoin. One of the things about Bitcoin is there is a very limited supply. So you have that supply and demand. Once Bitcoins are out and they're mined to capacity, that's it. You can make as many Dogecoins as you want for forever. So value-wise, right, supply and demand, you can always have more Dogecoins out there. So it's not as valuable. I also don't think it's as useful, at least to this point. You don't see many people buying, paying, selling things with Dogecoin. It doesn't really, when you boil it down, it does not deserve to go up. At the end of the day, the only reason it is up right now is because Elon Musk is talking about it, and that's not a space that you want to be, especially with someone who is volatile as Elon Musk. And it doesn't mean that's good. Well, I think it's a bad thing, but it can be completely neutral. The reason I bring this up is, remember, I think it was 2018 or so, he had talked about, oh, Tesla stock is too high, and it fell. For what reason would you say that? Like, why, sir? Especially if you own Tesla, I'd really be upset. He got fined by the SEC not too long ago. I don't know if it was that tweet or it was a podcast interview where he said, well, I think Tesla's going to go to whatever price. You can't really do that when you are the CEO of that company. So these are things that you want to be concerned about, because right now, the only reason people are doing it is because they're looking to get an overnight fix. They're trying to get rich quick. And anytime that happens, just like Bitcoin 2017, not now though, people get into it, it shoots up, and it crashes shortly after. And I think those same people who are trying to get rich and maybe even lost money off of GameStop, AMC, Nokia, and others have just transitioned to Dogecoin to try and recoup some of those losses. And some have. But here's the thing, as it starts to get more popular, as you know, the time is limited. So, for example, there was an article on CNBC about Dogecoin, what it is. Bro, the party's over, right? Same thing with GameStop. By the time they find out, because they always find out the last people to find out. You get what I'm trying to say. So I'm stumbling over my words. By the time your parents start bringing it up to you, it might be a little late. So there you go. So I'm not a fan of Dogecoin. It's one of those assets that don't deserve to go up. Bitcoin does. I've laid out all the reasons why that's been the case. Could Dogecoin be the thing? Legitimate place? Could Tesla own some Dogecoin down the line? Totally possible. I just don't know how probable that is. So it's just not, it's a gamble right now. Now, if you got gambling money and you got money to $300, $400, $500 or even more that doesn't really mean much to you, and you can just throw it in there and say, I don't care whether I lose it or not, then fine. But if you are taking your money a bit more seriously and you don't have that money to blow, and you're looking for something that is a little bit more reliable, something that does not rely solely on one man's tweets, then that's something that you want to consider. And at the end of the day, that's what I'm looking for. Any company or anything that I invest in needs to have some level of support from some entity other than one single man's tweet and the flavor of the day. I always go back to Apple because we know Apple has been so good for so long. You can add Microsoft in here as well. I invest in companies like Apple, like Microsoft, like Costco because they're reliable, right? They've been around for a while. I know that they know how to sell. I can see their sales. They produce stuff. Bitcoin doesn't produce stuff, and certainly Dogecoin doesn't produce anything. I also know for a fact how many billions from institutions, so like these mutual funds, these hedge funds, if you want to throw them in there, index funds, all these institutions. I can see how much money they are putting into a Costco, into a Walmart, into an Apple. I know how much money Warren Buffett has in Apple. So it gives me like it deserves to go up, right? I know that billions of dollars are going into this particular company or into this stock. Therefore, I've got some support. I know that money is flowing in here. If I get in, my money too is going to rise. It makes sense. It deserves to go up. Dogecoin, because of some tweets, I can't get with that. That's just not my investing style. Now there are going to be some people in the comments. You can comment all you want as long as it's not spam. That believe otherwise, and there are people like, hey, I made 1,000% on Dogecoin. That's fine. There's people who made 1,000% on penny stocks, but you know what happens next? It's gone. That's what always happens. And they jump to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing, which is why I've been saying all the way to GameStop. You can go all the way back to Kodak. You can go all the way back to whatever year where the stuff starts to happen, because where the stimulus check or whatever, you get lucky on one thing, you make a lot of money, it seems great. Then you try to roll it over to the next thing and the next thing until it all pops and it all falls apart. That's why you don't see so many millionaires, even billionaires, that made it off of meme coins and penny stocks and all these, gimmicky type of investments. The vast majority of them, they own their own business. Like, remember, Elon Musk is the richest man in the world because of Tesla and his prior work, not as an investor, not as a Warren Buffett or anything like that. He built a good company, or really plural companies, and that's how he got there. So you always want to keep that stuff in mind. Not a fan of Dogecoin right now. Maybe that'll change in a few years, but today in 2021, no. Bitcoin, yeah, I put a small segment, but I would be okay putting a segment of my money into Bitcoin. But I like what's tried and true, right? I know what the stock market has done. I can measure it. I can see the numbers. I can see what it produces, and that's the big thing for me. I'm not a big fan of gold. Gold doesn't produce nothing, right? Like, can you make money from it? Yes. But I need you to produce some things, and I can evaluate those things, and then we can make money together. So that's just my viewpoint. So you invest in what you want to invest in, but I do want to report the news, let you know what's going on out here in these Wall Streets, and tell you, give you some guidance on what I see, what may happen, and more often than not, we're pretty right. So just want to throw it out there. I will keep my eye on Dogecoin. I have an expectation of what I think will happen. We'll see. And then I think Bitcoin is going to be pretty solid, at least in the short term, especially through the Coinbase IPO, unless something ridiculous happens. So those are my points. I know I started to rant just a bit. Hope it was educational. But let me know what you think in the comments. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.